Good evening, Mr. Bond fans, and welcome once again. So yes, I'm back from my my little vacation for my birthday, and quite a lot to update you all on, which I wasn't expecting. So yeah, for those of you who did not see my previous vlog, you might not know that I turned 30 recently on the 14th of October, and in order to celebrate this, I'd been planning since like the start of the year a trip which included a week in Iceland and then a week in Tenerife, and the Iceland experience was just incredible in and of itself. I don't know if you've been to the country, if you plan on going to the country, but I can't recommend it enough. It was just an absolutely phenomenal holiday, and there is one thing that happened on that holiday that was just like so insane, and I'm still processing whether or not it even like truly happened or if I was just having a stroke or something, but I'll get to that later because there's a couple of other things that I need to talk about first. First of all, I need to say thank you to everyone who sent me birthday messages on my birthday. I mean, that was like really kind to, read those messages, and a lot of really sweet things were being said, and I need to especially thank Ruben of Toys of Bond, which is a website, Twitter page, Instagram account, and what Ruben does on this account is post a lot of really cool pictures of like his own Bond collection and also of other like Bond toys and memorabilia throughout the decades. Anyway, got back from my vacation like really late the other night, and it was like 3 a.m. just coming in after plane delays and all this, and I'm like, oh, thank God I'm back home. I'm just like in a bit of a grumpy mood, and then I opened up a package to receive these beautiful, absolutely beautiful art cards from Ruben, commemorating the 20th anniversary of The World's Not Enough, the 30th anniversary of License to Kill, the 50th anniversary of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and the 40th anniversary of Moonraker. You might have already seen some other Bond commentators posting pictures of these things over the last couple of weeks, but they are just really cool, high-quality images, and each contain this little, like, O, and in the O there's lots of, like, nice little design touches and details, taking inspiration from the films themselves. They're just a really cool set, and I can't tell you how it cheered me up no end after sort of a bit of a slog of a night of plane travel and, delays and whatnot. So I just wanted to say thank you so much, Ruben, and if you don't already follow him on Twitter or Instagram, I highly recommend it. It's one of like the very best Bond memorabilia pages for my money, always posting like interesting little things from like, toys from like 40 years ago, stuff that I really geek out about. So yeah, do head over to his site if you have the time. The second thing I have to talk about is Peal, and if you follow me on my other social media channels, you probably saw me posting. I was largely absent from social media over the past couple of weeks, and that was like a self-imposed thing, because I think it is good to kind of like, disconnect from these things every once in a while, kind of clear your headspace, and I found it very valuable, actually. It was the first time I'd done it for such a length. I did, however, log on to post about some new clothing items from Peal, and for those of you who don't know, Peal is like this luxury clothing brand. They've got shops in London and New York, and they recently released a 007 collection. The line includes clothing inspired by Bond film outfits throughout the decades, from like Connery right up until Daniel Craig, and Peal even provided a couple of actual clothing items that you see on screen in some of the recent Daniel Craig adventures. The new line takes inspiration from some of the older films. The one that I'm wearing at the moment, you may recognize as being very similar to the jumper that Pierce Brosnan wears in GoldenEye when he's being evaluated and racing Xenia on a top in the DB5. This kind of couldn't have come at a more perfect time for me either. I mean, like the clues in the name, Iceland is very cold, and I needed a couple of new jumpers, and I was very pleased and privileged to receive a couple from Peal, and I posted pictures about those on my social media channels. There was this one, and then there was a turtleneck inspired by one that Daniel Craig wears in Spectre. I've already posted about this on my other social media channels, but I really just can't stress enough the quality of these products. This one is 100% cashmere, and it is so light and soft, and yet kept me so warm over a couple of days of trekking over Icelandic mountains and hills. So, I mean, the practicality of it is really great, just as well as the luxurious quality of the material. They released a really cool trailer for the collection as well, which has a lot of Bond references in it and a great kick-ass score from David Arnold, no less. So, even if you're not terribly interested in the clothing line itself, I would recommend going over to the Peal page and watching the trailer. It's just a really cool little kind of short film. And if you have already got some of the products, or if you're planning on getting them, please do comment in the comment section below. Like I say, I've received 2 of the items, and I'm kind of wondering if I should invest in any more. I know there's the Die Another Day jumper that Brosnan wears in that film that I'm really coveting quite strongly, and they are certainly on the pricier end of clothing items, but then that just kind of is a reflection of the high quality of them and of the brand itself. It is a luxurious, high-quality brand. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking it out if it is within your budget and if it's something that you're interested in. One more point of order before I get to the main thing I wanted to talk about in this video, which was my crazy experience while I was on holiday, is the No Time to Die trailer, which has yet to drop. So, obviously there was a lot of people saying like, oh, it'll launch on James Bond Day, and it never did, and then there was still like this, I mean, I feel like there's been rumblings about when it's going to launch for months now, and I was getting really like, because I wanted to do this, like I say, social media blackout while I was on holiday, and I kept thinking like, but what if the trailer drops? Like, I need to like, because I really want to do like a live reaction video like what I did for Spectre all those years ago now, and I was like figuring out like, well, if I get like a couple of phones, I can maybe like record on one and then watch the other with headphones in, and then but then the sound quality might not be very good and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, turns out I didn't need to worry about it at all because the trailer has still not dropped. Something that I did hear, and again, like I have no like inside information on this, I'm just like speculating wildly. I did see something on Twitter which gained some traction about the trailer potentially being linked to the next Star Wars film, which would be in December. Personally, I think that would be very, very late for them to launch the trailer, like, literally, like, what, 4 months before the film, you know, comes out? I mean, I would have thought that they would have wanted to have built a bit more hype before that. So, again, I have nothing to go on other than just a hunch, but I think that November might be the time when we get it. Again, like, that is just a hunch. I have no real way to articulate why I think that. I just think the timing would feel right. It would mean that you get to have quite a bit of like hype generating a bit earlier. Filming is scheduled to wrap, I believe, at the end of the month, so having something cut by mid-November would be a possibility, I would have thought. But I guess we'll just have to sit and wait and twiddle our thumbs until then. Right, so the main point of my video, my crazy ass, like, oh my, this was like one of the, probably the most surreal moment of my life. It was, okay, so, as I say, I was in Iceland for the first half of my birthday travels, and there's this thing in Iceland called the Blue Lagoon, which is like a hot spring geothermal spa sort of thing, and there are varying levels of package that you can go along with and experience this with. You can pay for the admission and go in this huge pool, and it's a warm, so even though it's cold outside, it's like kept at a certain temperature, so it's a really cool place to go and place to visit, and I'm not being sponsored by them in any way, but I'm going to say a lot of really positive things about my experience there. So that's kind of one way that you can experience it. The other ways that you can experience it is you can either stay at the hotel, which is insanely expensive, or you can do this, what they call like the spa retreat, which basically means that you spend a few hours. They have like a separate pool away from the main pool, and you can go in that, and then you also have all these various like spa things. You have all this volcanic whatever and salts to rub over your body and stuff, and I've never done anything like this before, but, you know, me and my partner who I was traveling with, we decided, like, you know what, you're only 30 once, it's a birthday, it's a celebration, so let's just save up and we'll go for this spa retreat thing and, you know, just have a few hours of luxury, you know, pampering. So this was all booked and everything, and then we go to the thing, and it's really, like, you have to drive quite a bit. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It did have a bit of a, that hotel from the end of Quantum of Solace sort of feel to it. It's like, why would you build a hotel out here? Oh, wait, there's this really cool spa there, that's why. And then you go through this quite sort of, like, Spectre-like, you know, a Bond villain door, and then you're in this spa, and there are receptionists there, and it was all very kind of, I don't know if any of you have imposter syndrome like I do, but sometimes when I'm in environments that are perhaps a little bit fancier than what I might be used to, I sort of, like, close up a little bit and sort of, you know, get a little bit carried away with it all. So the guy, the receptionist, who was sort of like, they give you a little bit of a tour, and they sort of like, you know, walk you down a corridor and show you like, okay, well, there's the sauna, there's the spa, this is the pool, this is the bar, all this kind of thing. And the first area you come to is the bar. There's a desk, and then he sort of led us both to the front, and there are windows with like the pools outside. So it's like, okay, well, this is really cool. And so he's explaining it to us and explaining, okay, you get towels from here and you come through this door and blah 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 and all this. And then I'm looking around at like who else is sort of like in this bar, and I look left, and there's a guy sat on his own, very distinguished looking man with like brilliant grey hair, big grey beard. He's like sitting back. I think he might have been drinking like a tea or a coffee or something. And I'm like, God, he's a really dapper looking man. And there are so many people like that in Iceland, like, you know, these very handsome middle-aged men with these like great facial hair and whatnot. And then the guy starts to lead us down this little corridor through the bar so that he can explain something to us at the other side. And he's saying, oh, and you can come in here and, you know, have a drink and have a snack and all this kind of stuff. And we're walking closer and closer, and I'm looking at the guy, and I'm like, huh, he looks an awful lot like Pierce Brosnan. And then I'm kind of like getting closer and closer, and I'm like, huh, he really looks like Pierce Brosnan. He really looks like Pierce Brosnan. And we're literally like, I mean, you can't perceive depth, I guess, through this video, but we're literally, I would say, like a meter apart, like literally walk right past him. And I'm kind of looking at him, and he sort of like looks up. I'm like, huh, well, he is Pierce Brosnan's doppelganger. That is really impressive. And then we get to the end, and this receptionist is like telling us some more about the place. And then we're at the opposite end of the bar, and he's kind of like in the middle on like a bench. And so the guy's trying to like explain things to us, and I just like keep like looking over, and then he turns and looks at me, and I'm like, oh my God, that actually might be Pierce Brosnan. That genuinely might be Pierce Brosnan, because he had that big beard. He's had it for a while where they were filming like The Sun, I think it was. So he has been sporting a beard on and off for a while now. Anyway, we get taken away from the bar area, and we go into the changing rooms, and I'm like, oh my God, I think that's Pierce Brosnan out there. Like, what the hell? And my partner's like, well, okay, whatever. He doesn't really watch James Bond. I've shown him like GoldenEye, Casino Royale, and Skyfall, and that's kind of it. So, he was just sort of a bit, you know, overwhelmed with, like, you know, the experience we were having, and I was as well, and so I was like, okay, well, fine, we'll get into our swim shorts, and then we'll go out and, you know, see things. And then we go out to the bar, and the chap is no longer there. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it was him, maybe it wasn't, who knows. And so then we go off and do, like, some of the spa stuff. We, you know, go and it's like a really cool, like, you know, place to relax and have various treatments and stuff. It was a real proper pampering experience, and a really, really great one. So we're both kind of, like, relaxing and everything, and then we go into the main pool, which is sort of like, you can start out at different parts of it, but it's basically sort of like, it basically runs down like that. So there's like a pool here, and then it sort of flows into another pool and another pool and another pool and all this. And so we're just like swimming around and like, oh, this is very nice and very warm and everything. So we decide that we're going to go to see like what is the end of this, you know, pool thing. So we go and we find the end of it, and it's like, okay, well, that's cool. And then there's no one around. There is no one around. And then as we come back, we're swimming back, and then on the next elevation, just like out of the water, like frickin' Ursula Andress, Halle Berry style, comes like Pierce Brosnan, and he's just like stood there like topless, like he comes out of the water, he's like, I'm just like, oh my God, that's him. That is actually him. That is, and he's a little bit further away from us now, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm 99% sure it's him. And then the final thing that just confirmed it all for me was that he was there with his wife, who came around as well and was sort of like... And then I thought I'd experienced starstruckness when I met Roger Moore, but that was nothing compared to how I felt just bumping into Pierce Brosnan in a frigging geothermal pool. So obviously I'm quite overwhelmed, and my partner's sort of like, so is it him after all? And I was like, yep, it's him. And so I'm kind of like, do I say something? What do I say? Like, is this even a setting in which we're both pretty much naked except for some swim shorts, and literally no one else is around at this point, at this section of the pool. There is literally no one else there except the four of us, and I was just kind of like, I just couldn't say anything. I was like, at one point we went up the steps into their pool, and like his wife was swimming by, and she sort of like smiled, and my partner said hi, and she said hi, and then we were just kind of like there, and they were like literally a couple of meters away, just like chatting and, you know, relaxing. And we're just sort of like, well, we're not chatting and relaxing because my heart is like gonna burst through my chest from palpitations. It was the exact opposite experience of what I thought a relaxing spa retreat was supposed to be. It was actually quite stressful. So we're kind of just like swimming around for a little bit, and he's there, and I'm like, do I say something? Do I say anything at all? And then I kind of decided, you know what, this is not really an appropriate time to like go over and be like, hello, Mr. Brosnan, I'm a big fan of yours. Like, just how that was, like, we are all kind of almost naked, and, you know, he's there with his wife. I didn't want to kind of like, you know, spoil their serenity, because they were in a secret, they had come into the public area of that particular of the spa retreat, because when you're there you have like these wristbands on that you use to, like, you know, get through doors and things. And when we were in the pool at one point, this was before we saw both of them, we saw a door which had a thing on, and we went up to it and like, well, you know, we paid for this, you know, VIP treatment today, I'm sure that this is for us. And we went up to it, and it wouldn't allow us through this like little hatch, which was actually in the pool. You're in the water and trying to pull this hatch, and it didn't work. And then we found out why, because there is a VIP section apparently, and Pierce and his wife were in it. We saw them go through the door later on. So the other thing about the Blue Lagoon is that they don't allow your phones in this particular section, or at least that's what they told us. I don't know if that's standard policy, or they were just acting that way because there was, you know, a movie star there, but they do allow you to have, like, pictures. You can go and ask a member of the staff to bring out a phone and take photos, and then they email them to you. So, we were going to do this anyway, and then after a while of swimming around meters away from Pierce Brosnan and his wife, we were kind of like, okay, well, let's just get on with our day. If you've decided you're not going to say anything, let's just get on with our day. And we did, and it was wonderful and everything. And then the last thing about the whole Pierce Brosnan thing is that we were having photos, and they were, like, sort of, like, in the pool behind us. And as we were having photos, they started, like, swimming, you know, back to their private door. And the lady who was taking the photos was kind of, like, very much aware that she was not supposed to get either of them, you know, photo evidence of them at all. And she's, like, trying to take photos of them, and she's like, oh, well, this would be a nice background over here, wouldn't it? And then we're sort of, like, out the corner of our eyes, we just see them sort of, like, swimming past. And then a security guard, like, came out and went over to her, and they spoke in English, they weren't speaking Icelandic, which I thought was interesting. And he was like, yeah, do you know who? And she was like, yep, nope, I know who that is. And so Pierce and his wife went swimming through this VIP hatch, and that was it. I didn't see them again. So obviously, like, now in hindsight, the fact that I didn't say anything or, like, get a photo or anything is just kind of, how many times am I going to bump into a James Bond? Like, I don't think I will ever have another experience like that in my life. And yet at the same time, I'm kind of happy that I didn't like, you know, doggy paddle over to him and just sort of like splash him with water in hysterics and sort of like, I'm a big fan. So I'm kind of glad in a way that it was kind of just like, you know, a thing that happened, and we were swimming around in the same pool, and, you know, until the end of my days, when people ask me about Iceland and they say, did you see the Northern Lights? I'll say, no, I didn't see the Northern Lights. I saw something rarer and better than the Northern Lights. I swam in a friggin' geothermal pool with Pierce Brosnan. I mean, it's just like a completely surreal experience. And, you know, to have locked eyes with the man is just, you know, insane. And I really couldn't believe it. I don't think I'm often, like, completely starstruck by people. I was very much starstruck when I met Roger Moore at a book signing, but that was like a book signing. That was like a constructed situation. I knew what I was going to do. I was going to go and buy his book, and he was going to sign it, and there was, you know, possibly going to be a few words exchanged, and that was it. With this, it was just like a completely random, like, oh my god, I have walked past the man, and now I'm swimming in a pool with him, and it was just an absolutely insane experience. For the rest of the day, I was, like, palpitating. Like, the whole point of this thing was supposed to be that it was a relaxing spa experience, and then after that, I'm sat there, and, like, everyone's in these, like, lounges, you know, in these hammocks and things, and I'm just, like, sat on the end, like, what if he comes through the door again? What do I say? And, so, in a way, he ruined my Blue Lagoon experience. No, he didn't really ruin it, of course. That kind of just made the whole experience even more special, which is just insane. And that wasn't actually on my birthday. I was in Tenerife on my birthday. It was the week before, but still, like, as far as, you know, birthday surprises go, that was really something. So I suppose, has anyone else just sort of, like, bumped into a Bond actor, or just anyone who you have been, like, completely starstruck by, and what happened? Like, I'm really bad in those kinds of spontaneous situations where I'm like, I don't know what to say. Like, I completely seize up and just operate on, you know, a much lower capacity than I do normally. So I'm curious to know about you guys, like, if there is any experience similar that you might have had and how you cope with it, and do you have any tips for me in case I, like, you know, I don't know, I go on, like, a safari vacation and, you know, bump into Timothy Dalton. I mean, at one point I would have said such a thing would be absurd, but now I'm kind of like, well, anything can happen, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of like my update from the past couple of weeks. I'm going to be back on the video creating front now, and got plenty of fun ideas that I hope are going to make really good videos for the next few months. So yeah, hope you stick with me, and it's good to be back. So until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.